So this is kind of worrying, and I want to treat this one rather delicately. But I've seen some trends on Google that have been going viral, notably people who were searching for self-harm terms. I want to be very delicate with this, specifically in the District of Columbia. So I decided to see if it was true. And starting with February 1st, search for a handful of terms. Now, one story that we did cover here was that criminal lawyer was trending in D.C. We all laughed. But I thought about, why would someone need a criminal lawyer in D.C. based on what we're seeing? So I searched for the term fraud. Found the same thing. Layoff. Found the same thing. And ultimately, a term that I'm going to refrain from saying just for a time being, just because we want to keep it family friendly, but self-harm. And they are all trending at comparable levels, which is indicative of a specific isolated trend. When I see people posting that criminal lawyer is trending in D.C., I say, yeah, well, there's a lot of people in D.C. who need criminal lawyers and aren't just politicians or fraudsters. And so, well, we did what any sane person would do. We began to, we here at Timcast, dig into it. And when I pulled up Google Trends and searched for other areas, in fact, these trends do not occur in other parts of the country, specifically in D.C. In other parts of the country, it seems to be more erratic and hard to notice. This says to me, there are people in D.C., some for right or for wrong, for whatever reason, that are deeply concerned about having committed crimes or losing their jobs. The reason why I included layoff was because I wanted to compare the rates to people who are just losing their jobs to these other issues, because perhaps people's lives are being destroyed. There's a viral tweet, it's actually quite funny, where a woman is like, I just lost my dream job in the government because Trump fired me. These MAGA Doge people. And then the next tweet from Defiant L's, by the way, she's like, didn't have any meetings today, so I'm sitting here in my jammies. And it's like, we're gonna pay you to do that? Like, get out of here, man. Well, some people don't want to work and loved suckling the teat of government and were getting paid to do it. And so naturally, they're going to be upset when that happens. But I think what we're actually looking at in the D.C. area is that there is a criminal enterprise that is being gutted, and they are panicked. And that's why they were so resistant to Donald Trump. Trump, who said, I'm going to come in, I'm going to clean up government, drain the swamp. They said, if he finds out what we've been doing. Now, we're not talking about a single individual. We're talking about a network. We're talking about a decentralized spattering out of Loudoun County and other areas surrounding Washington, D.C., that knew they were engaged in, we can start from the unethical, which could destroy their social life, all the way up to the fraudulent, which could put them in prison. Stories of invoices being sent to the Treasury Department for seemingly nonsensical things, and them being instructed, just pay it out anyway. These stories are rather terrifying. So when you look at D.C., criminal lawyer, layoff, suicide, fraud, all trending. And so what I did was I started by checking, criminal lawyer, and I added more and more terms to it. And I said, is this a trend that is somewhat interrelated? Fraud. Look at fraud. Just from 0 to 100 from February 1st to the 3rd. When Trump started going after USAID, searches for fraud in D.C. skyrocketed. Now, hold on there a gosh darn minute. Why wouldn't you'd expect to see, if this was just curiosity over what Trump was doing and questions of whether there was fraud, that trend would be appearing all over the country. Not specifically in D.C. Combined with criminal lawyer and layoff and the fears of self-harm, it sounds like many of the people in D.C. who are searching for this, well, their searches correlate with what appears to be an admission of guilt. I love the surface level data. We can't really do anything with it. You can't use this data to accuse an individual of anything of doing wrong. But let me show you. What we have pulled up right now is Google Trends, original research. Let me show you. So, okay, let's add a search term. Let's try something else that may be related, like mortgage, right? Mortgage, meaning death deal. Mortgage loan, insurance. Well, we hear that the people are selling their homes. Maybe if those are the jobs, they're selling their houses. And when we search for the mortgage term, you can see, yeah, there is an uptick right away, but it's fairly stable. It's well above the rest of the search terms. And the search term was at 58% on the first before any of these other terms started emerging, before the USAID stuff really took off, indicating that people generally be searching for the term mortgage, not indicative of a trend. Let's try another word just to see if, like, all of a sudden at once people in DC started searching for things. So let's try baseball. Totally unrelated control term. As you can see, baseball was well above all the other search terms, didn't spike, seems to be completely unrelated. In fact, at a low point for many of the other terms, baseball spikes. I wonder if something happened. Let's try this. Super Bowl. Unrelated control search term. Super Bowl searches were so high, the rest of the search terms don't even exist. It's just literally the Super Bowl. So then, once again, we will remove that term and return to where we were. The reason why I did that is to show you that criminal, lawyer, suicide, layoff, and fraud have a comparable rate of search to each other in D.C., meaning it's not as high as the Super Bowl, which the average person would be searching for, indicating that these terms together are comparable rates of search. My friends, I think the people in D.C., the swamp monsters, are panicking. I think they're deeply concerned that the moves Donald Trump is making is going to expose the swamp. Let's see what happens if I search for swamp. I bet nothing. Swamp doesn't even come. Oh, okay. Swamp actually does come up. It's the lowest, but swamp does emerge and begin to have some search for some reason around this time. If I try Trump, it's meaningless. It just drowns. Look at that. Trump actually goes up and down, and it's completely, What's another search term that we could add to this in real time as I record this video? Well, we've got USAID, which perhaps we can add USAID and see if that correlates. It does not, in fact. Interestingly, it kind of does. It has 51% search at the beginning of the month. It spikes on February 3rd. This is really interesting. Holy crap, ladies and gentlemen. USAID spikes compared to the rest at 100% max search relevance relative to the other trends on February 3rd. Let's remove USAID and take a look. February 3rd is where fraud spikes. And then it is a day later, I should say 2 days later, when we see everything else hit. Very interesting. Fraud search seems to be somewhat indirectly correlating with USAID. That's why I included layoff. I want to see what exactly was going on with this. I don't know exactly where this will all go, but a judge recently said that Elon Musk can carry out his Doge investigations. So we'll try Doge, which is a particularly unique term. And there it is, somewhat correlating. On February 1st, Doge at 0. By the 3rd, it's peaked at 61 and then tracks somewhat, but not really, alongside many of these terms. Let me tell you what the most concerning is. Self-harm. On February 4th, search for this term was 0. And on the 5th, 82. There's no denying it. This was the first post that actually went viral. So I just want to stress, if you know anybody who works in government, whatever the reason may be, please check on them. I mean this sincerely. We don't want anybody hurting themselves. We want everyone to be okay. This is an important message that I think now we should take more seriously than ever. If there are people out there that are scared or worried, please reach out to them. The most important thing you can do is simply just knock on their door, say hello, make sure everything's going well. I know some of these people may be thinking these things for inappropriate reasons. When we look at the exact same time frame nationwide, there's no trend. In fact, it kind of goes down a little bit before picking up just around the 19th, likely because people are potentially searching for this story. But when you search in DC, you can see that the trend started around the same time. People are selling their homes and losing their jobs, and some of them may be exposed in extreme criminal activities. So for the sake of everybody, I hope y'all take this seriously. We need this to be, the Trump administration's got to act clean. It's got to be clean, dispassionate, dispassionate and accountable. In the meantime, check out Google Trends and search the data yourself. I'll leave it there. I don't know if we have any more segments coming up today because it's a special Friday episode, but maybe. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see y'all next time.